All the Cowboys fans, I want to let you guys know you won your Super Bowl last week, and it's been downhill ever since. Dak heard his praise, and he went out there and only threw an interception, no touchdowns. So it was nice to see Tony Pollard has been struggling this run game. This defense has been really known for locking people down, and they went to Buffalo, and they couldn't do it. We always talked about how they won 14, 15 straight games at home, but when they come on the road, they struggle. Josh Allen and the Bills have come alive. Like we talked about last week, Toddy mentioned that, are the Bills back? We're really seeing the reinsurgence of, Stephon Diggs, but the biggest thing I took away from this game was James Cook. James Cook really showed that the last couple of weeks in Philly, he dropped a wide open touchdown. The last week, he's really been struggling. But now they're getting rolling. They're going to say, we're going to run the ball, and we're not going to let Josh run the ball 40 times. Someone else has to run the ball because, as you know, as an Eagles fan, Jalen Hurts has gotten hurt. You've seen the Cam Newtons of the world. You can only run your quarterback so many times before they get hurt, unfortunately. So knocking on wood, hope that doesn't happen to us. But to see James Cook coming live really hurts me because I drafted him in fantasy and I gave up on him a couple weeks in.
I did that with Gus Edwards in my main league.
So just seeing that happen. But for all the Cowboy fans, I sent the picture to the group chat. We talk about the group chat all the time. So let me just do the cycle of a Dallas Cowboy fan. The season starts. Next stage, you beat up on bad teams. Next stage, delusional fans get their hopes up. Next stage, we the boys. This is our year. We're in there now. And then the next stage, the last stage, choking the divisional round. So it's going on side. So to be a Dallas Cowboy fan this morning, I know they're not feeling great. They're not feeling great. I see the text in the group chat with the Statutory Politics Fantasy League. Checked on Uncle Manny because they all had a lot to say last week. But, it was crickets this week. There wasn't no A.J. Brown tissues being handed out because I wanted to come on the show and make sure that Uncle Manny, I hope you're watching. Look me in my eyes.
He might be at work right now.
Have fun on the road in the playoffs.
He'll see this later.
Okay, well, I mean, Gary, that's your uncle right there. That's bloodline. So even though you are a Steelers fan, are you here to defend not only Uncle Manny, but Jesse and everyone in your family?
Nope, because I'll be dancing on their grave too when they're losing. So I'm really happy they lost yesterday. Obviously, you see my pick. Picks have been going down. I ain't trying to bring the picks up too much the last 2 weeks. But Shaun's trying to come after me. I'm still holding that first spot.
I'm not trying. I am.
That first spot is pretty strong right now. I was looking at what you picked. It's like, damn, he might catch me this week right here. So I got to clutch up, stop picking on my heart next going forward. I've been picking my Steelers every week. I got to stop with that now going forward. My last week picking them probably. And side note on fantasy, man, I didn't even fumble. I played my uncle. I played Tyreek and Josh Jacobs. I lost. I would have been in the championship. So I know I big time fumbled this bag. But other than that, I feel like Cowboys did Cowboys things like Kev mentioned in the beginning. They're just the weirdest team in terms of you really can't put it on point of like the home and away record. Like it's so crazy how they beat people by 20 plus at home and they're really not doing that good on the way. And it's usually great teams don't have that problem. So I obviously don't think the Cowboys are a great team. They're actually a good team. Obviously they beat the Eagles, but obviously I feel like that's an in-division game. So I feel like that's always going to be close. And you guys obviously whacked them. That's why I think that little cough came right now. Why the Mr. 49ers fan himself. So I feel like overall, the Cowboys are what they always are. Like Kev mentioned, they're going to be doing good versus the bad teams, but when the really good teams come to play, and which is kind of weird because the Bills haven't really been a great team. They kind of slipped up, I guess, last week versus the Chiefs. A couple weeks ago, they were pretty much dead in the water. Now they have a chance to come back and make the wild card. So the Buffalo Bills still, I don't feel like, are the greatest team, too, to be happy to lose to, I guess, and say, or like be fine with losing to, even, as a Cowboys fan, like say, oh, we lost to Josh Allen and them. No, they haven't really had the greatest season to be like, oh, that's a good team. We can lose to them. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like the Cowboys just had a little bit of happiness 1 week and then boom, right back down you go. And yeah, I don't feel like the Cowboys are still the regular Cowboys. I don't really see where Dak's going to make that big improvement unless the defense carries them. At the end of the day, we all know when the playoff times come, it's going to be you rely on your offense to make a couple big plays too. So I just feel like with that being said, I feel like the Dallas Cowboys are still the Dallas Cowboys and not going to go too far.
Before we move on, are the Cowboys going to go into the new year on a 3-game losing streak? So next week they go to Miami, and then the Detroit Lions come to town. So are they going to end 2023 on a 3-game losing streak? Because that Miami game is on the road. So just want to
Detroit's at home?
Detroit's at home.
They might go.
Okay, so now before we move on from this game, Jaevon, I wanted to get your thoughts, but spinning it forward from a 49ers fan perspective, because you give us the best perspective on that. When it comes to the NFC, you have the Cowboys losing by 3 touchdowns to, your words, yourself yesterday, to a 7-6 team. And you have the Eagles losing to this team that just lost by 3 touchdowns to the Bills. And then the Eagles losing by 23 points to the 49ers. So all of that said, who are you most concerned about in the NFC of getting in the 49ers' way of getting back to the Super Bowl this year? Because the Eagles, as we just mentioned, the 49ers took care of business against. So did they against the Cowboys. You have the Lions, who we thought were the up-and-comers. They've been kind of inconsistent. Or Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming out of the NFC South. Who are you most concerned about for the 49ers coming out of the NFC this year?
And nobody is not an answer. You have to say something.
The NFC South, man, you know how high I was on the Saints. The Saints.
High is the proper word.
I understand. You said NFC Championship.
I said NFC Championship for the Saints. And albeit yesterday they did beat the wow, bro. It's just Derek Carr is. I don't trust the Saints. I can't. You know, they beat up on DeVito yesterday, at home. Didn't really win as convincingly as I thought they should have. But they're not really a team that I could put my trust in. Out of that NFC South, I would have to lean towards the Bucs, just based off of they've already beaten the Saints. They beat them on the road, and they're still playing them again. So I would imagine they will be favored in the next game that they do play. The Falcons, Desmond Ridder is
they're done. They're cooked.
Is the most atrocious. Like just watching him play football is heartbreaking.
That was 9-6, right?
Yeah, they lost
against the Panthers.
They lost, and the team that they lost to didn't even put up a touchdown. So it's it's frustrating for a bunch of Falcons fans on just how many weapons that they have, and they're unable to really use them properly, especially Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts, as you already mentioned, Drake London, former USC Trojan. I put that in there.
Yeah, you don't want to talk. You don't want to talk about that program right now. Don't get us started.
Probably talk about that a little bit later. But as far as this game in particular, I mean, usually the Bills are very Josh Allen reliant. Have to rely on him to pretty much throw the ball 30, 40 times in a game, and for him to kind of just sit back and watch and hand the ball off 25 times to James Conner for at least 100 and almost 50 yards, or James Cook. I said James Conner. But pretty much Cook was just the guy that made pretty much everything happen. And even in the receiving end, he almost had a 40-yard receiving. So this was a shocking way that I thought the Bills were able to win. I think they're currently tied like 4 ways between it's like the Texans and like a whole bunch of other teams. So I believe the Bills are probably the scariest team in the AFC currently right now, just because they had a very slow start. But I think that if the Bills can win in this type of fashion and beat a team, basically not allowing them to score a touchdown, because the touchdown at the end was a garbage touchdown. It's very convincing. And I mean, they've already proven that they've beaten the number 1 seed in the AFC in the Kansas City Chiefs, the baby goat, as Garry refers to. But I mean, the Bills can be the best team in the AFC. I mean, we all think it's the Ravens currently right now. Well, it is technically the Ravens in the AFC, statistically wise, because this is stats over politics. But I mean, I don't think anyone wants the Bills to make the playoffs, because they'll be that, that 5 seed maybe, just based off of their record, and they'll be able to go on the road and play probably at Jacksonville or whoever it is that they'll end up playing in the playoffs, and they'll be a very tough sight to see. And this was usually the team. They're kind of in the same position that the Bengals kind of were a couple of years ago when they went to the Super Bowl, and they were that team that they got hot at the end. And, they were like, oh, well, they can't beat the Bills. They can't beat Mahomes. And Joe Burrow went in, Snowborough went in and got the job done. So this Bills team, man, they definitely got to watch out. They can get a game where this is what Brock Purdy pretty much does every week, where he throws for like 250 and 4 touchdowns, and Chris McCaffrey runs for 100 yards and scores 3 touchdowns. It'll be scary to see. If they can get Josh Allen to, throw for 300 yards and James Cook to rush for over 100 yards. That's a tough team to beat anybody in this league. So hats off to the Bills, Cowboys. Welcome back to reality. Life comes at you fast. Life comes at you fast.
Well, so for someone like Garry, who's a fan of an AFC team, I mean, Steelers are what they are. All three of us constantly slander them, but the fact of the matter is they're still in the playoff race. So the Steelers need to be concerned about a team like the Bills. But as far as just the 49ers path back to the Super Bowl, are you really concerned by any teams in the NFL? I know Kevin said you can't say nobody, but it seems like it's nobody because you answered that question.
Named a couple of teams out there, but I guess it's the.
I heard a lot about the Bills.
I guess it's the Eagles.
Okay. That's Kevin wanted that respect.
I mean,
they are the defending NFC champions. We can talk all about the championship game from last year, but that is the fact. That is the reality.
They hung up 40 on both of the 2 and 3 best teams in the NFC. We hung up 40 on both of them. So it's like, where's the concern? Not really.
No.
Albeit, hey, we got a really tough. Kevin is praying to the heavens that they win tonight, and we lose
That's a bar.
on Monday Night Football against the Ravens, because if that happens, then they would technically become, I believe, the number 1 seed. So they're like, oh, we got to come back to the league. Let's go back to the league. And I was like, are you sure you want us to come back? Oh, yeah. He does want us to come back. He's like, well, remember what happened in the league last year in the NFC Championship game? Last year in the playoffs. Y'all don't want to come back. Y'all remember what happened. Or we just, a couple of weeks ago, I believe, we went to the league and put up 40 points. So I don't think.
A couple of weeks ago gave you a lot of confidence.
Yeah, I don't think going on the road is like a concern for us, because it's not like we can travel.
Road warriors.
The way that we play is it travels. Being able to run the football, it travels. It works into the playoffs, and I feel like this is what a lot of teams are missing. That's why the Niners are where they are. But I mean, I'm not really concerned. I'm not really concerned at all. So.
Game that was about to Minnesota.
Yeah, off to Minnesota.
Or Cleveland.
Yeah, Cleveland, Minnesota.
Bengals came to town.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, but
I'm saying, you say you can travel. I'm saying.
Kevin, thank you for mentioning that, though, because as the weeks continue to progress, those 3 losses look more and more like an anomaly. And you don't want to give any credence to the fact that Deebo Samuel and Trent Williams were out for all 3 of those games. And it's like, okay, let's not make excuses, but we're looking for a reason. We don't understand why this 49ers team that scored over 30 points in the first 5 games of the season suddenly scored 17 in 3 straight games. Now they're scoring over 40 and they're scoring over 30. And it's because those 2 guys are back. So, kind of a big deal. They're kind of a big deal.
Trent Williams, Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, they're all on the field. Niners are 18-0.
Stats over politics.
Regular season?
Last season, the league, I'm sure all 3 of them.
Oh, it's Brock Purdy too. That's what it is.
Okay.
They all 3 played the same team. No pass.
I think they lost the playoffs sometime a year before too. So,
well, anyways, yeah, go ahead.
To say something real quick before we leave the Bills. I wanted to hop on what Vaughn said real quick. I don't think that many people should be scared of the Bills. I ain't gonna lie. I don't. Even though I feel like Josh Allen. This is the first time now. First of all, yesterday was the first time I've seen Josh Allen not throw over 100 yards and then win, actually. Usually they're getting smacked in the mouth if he's not doing big yardage, big, kind of, what's his name? I'm forgetting, Brett Favre type-esque games, where he's going for it all. He's going to have a couple of TDs. He's also going to have a couple of interceptions. And that interception part, I feel like this is the first time they're not looked as they're coming from now from the lower position. So a lot of people are not sleeping on them, but they're not as high priority. So I can see them maybe sneaking up on someone ball and no one want to play them because Josh Allen's great. But in terms of the team being scary, I don't think no team should really be scared of the Bills, really, not even Miami or no one like that, even though they've had their number in the last few years. I just feel like at the end of the day, this team has the demons of losing to the Chiefs and demons of losing to the Bengals and keep losing to teams every year. And I feel like they just even the Jags. I feel like they're not even better than the Jags right now. Like even though they can beat them maybe in a game because anyone can win any week. But I really don't feel like the Bills. I don't feel like they're that scary. I don't feel like they're not sneaking around muddy. I feel like we already passed that, and I'm not going to give it back to them after 1 week. They came back just to beat somebody, and now we're gonna anoint them again back to the top. Like nah, you guys are already up. They're already cut. I feel like, in my opinion, they're gonna have to do a lot.
That's not what I'm doing.
Well, Kevin, that was cut.
Kevin, we're gonna need that to be clipped right there. That That's TikTok right there.
I don't think I'm saying nothing crazy. They're
I disagree.
they're tied right now for 8 spots, so they're barely in the playoffs.
It's like a four-way
It's a
tie.
4-way tie to the wild card. So I just feel like we've seen enough this year where we shouldn't be. Yeah, we should be scared of the greatness of Josh Allen, but we shouldn't be scared of the team because they've proven over and over again they don't really show up in big moments. So
They got the Chargers, the Patriots, and the Dolphins.
they can finish out strong and make the playoffs. I'm not saying they won't make the playoffs.
Houston stick?
I think the Bills are already favored by like 2 touchdowns. It's insane.
They should make the playoffs with that schedule, to be honest. They should go 2-1 at least to make the playoffs. And whoever's going to be the top seed won't be happy to play the Bills, but I don't think they should be scared of them.
So it's like it's their time with the Bengals, the Texans, the Colts.
It's crowded. It's crowded in the AFC.
Jags.
Crowded.
Yeah. Oh, Colts, Texans, Bengals, Bills. Those are the 4 teams that are all.
Who would have thought there would be 3 AFC South teams in the playoffs right
Man. And you know the one team that's not in there is the Tennessee Titans. Shout out to our guy Evan. Because
Tighten up.
Tighten